Started here. Welcome to the session on funding for internships and research abroad. This session will cover funding opportunities through many U of M units, as you can see here. Most of these deadlines will be coming a fair amount later, although a few are in November. So the idea is to let you know what's out there. And in most cases, these offices offer funding for internships or research, but you as a student will need to create the internship or research opportunity and have it ready so that when you apply for funding, your application will be competitive. In some cases, what's offered is an actual program, but I think our presenters will try to touch on that. I'm Bill Nolting. I'm at the International Center. We try to make available resources all across the campus for Michigan students. And this panel is an example of that. Then the International Career Pathways series, which this is an event in, will cover a lot of other topics, including careers in global areas such as global health, or the environment is a session given tomorrow. So I hope you'll follow that. So in a funding proposal, typically you'll need to include things like a statement of purpose, letters of recommendation, a budget, letter of invitation from the internship program or organization, or a letter of invitation for research, a transcript, and a resume or CV. Those are just examples. The statement of purpose is probably the most important, and I think our presenters will talk about that a little. You'll need to address what the particular funding source wants in terms of applications that they are encouraging. And we'll just, since we don't have much time for the individual presenters, each one of them will talk about their particular grants going right down the line. Then we'll take questions at the end. And we'll also be staying after 1 o'clock in case you have questions for the individual presenters. So first we'll hear from the LSNA International Internship Funding Source, as well as the internship program. Elizabeth Pariano. I think we'll just pass the mic right on down the line there.
Great, hello. You can all hear me, yes? Okay, great. My name's Elizabeth Pariano, and I'm here from LSA with my colleague Ben Anderson, and we are from the LSA Internship Program. And one of the most important parts of our LSA internship program is the LSA Internship Scholarship. So we want to tell you a little bit about how you can apply for and determine whether or not you're eligible for the internship scholarship. This is year 3 of the scholarship, and this past summer, so summer 2014, we funded 100 students with awards that range from $500 to $5,000 to support them on summer internships. I'll tell you the criteria for the internship scholarship is that you must be an LSA student. You can be dually enrolled, so if you have a dual plan with another college, that's absolutely fine. You need to be an undergraduate student. You need to be returning here to campus, or actually I shouldn't say returning to campus. You need to be a returning student, so you need to be enrolled in the fall that you come back, right, after your internship. You need to have an internship. And the internship needs to be during the spring or summer term, okay? And the last criteria is that you need to have financial need as determined by the Office of Financial Aid, okay? It doesn't matter how much or how little need you have. If you have that qualification as determined by our Office of Financial Aid here, we can consider you for the scholarship, okay? So that's kind of the criteria piece. The things that you do as part of the as a recipient of an internship scholarship is we have you blog while you're away on your internship, and we meet with you when you come back and kind of help you figure out how to talk about and represent this experience to employers and to people you might encounter in the future, and you might want to be able to really make the most of this experience you've had abroad. This past summer, we supported students who interned in wonderful locations, Turkey, the UK, Jordan, Peru, I could go on and on. I think there were 45 of the 100 students more on international internship positions. So finding an international internship is also something that the LSA internship program can help you with. We have an international internship program, and the application for that can be found in mCompass, and the application for the LSA internship scholarship can also be found in mCompass. Those will be right next to each other, the program app and the scholarship app. If you've applied for the program, that doesn't mean you've necessarily applied for the scholarship, so you need to just be attentive to that. The requirements that Bill just reviewed are very similar to our scholarship requirements. However, we don't require a letter of recommendation. Okay, we will ask you about your budget. If you received funding from somewhere else, if your internship is paid or you've gotten funding from somewhere else, that does not preclude you from receiving an internship scholarship from us. We just ask you to tell us about it. We'll have 2 cycles, okay? So we'll have a cycle that where we ask students to submit their materials in February, and then we'll notify you by the end of February. And then we'll have another cycle at the end of March, and then we'll notify you by mid-April. So that means if you are able to confirm an internship position and need to know whether you've gotten funding, we'll let you know that as early as February, okay? If you are in kind of the final stages or almost confirmed that internship position, definitely submit your application, because we can kind of confirm the details after the deadline, but we need to know about you going into the deadline. So if you feel like you meet the criteria and you're on the road to confirming an international internship for yourself, make sure you start your application in mCompass. And then you'll kind of be on our radar, and we can be in contact with you as you confirm your details, because we do understand that this takes quite a bit of negotiation on your part, and dealing with employers, especially employers abroad, can be quite complicated. So we really do want to help you. Our offices are in the LSA building in the dean's office in the 2nd floor. So we have open office hours. You can pick up a postcard here that'll tell you about the International Internship Program. You do not need to find your international internship through us in order to be eligible for the scholarship. You can also pick up a scholarship brochure here and find out more about other scholarships in LSA that you may be eligible for as well. Okay, I think that covers most of, I'm sure you guys have questions, but I'm assuming that we'll tackle those later. Okay, here you go.
Hello, my name is Falake Graves. I am with the Program for International Comparative Studies. We offer funding to all of our declared PICS majors and minors if they are studying abroad through a U of M sponsored program. Funding is not based on financial need or merit. We give funding support because we want to encourage you to study abroad. We also offer research and internship funding to our declared students. You will need to find your own internship or research project, and they are competitive. We offer summer internship opportunities, which is open to all undergraduate students with the exception of graduating seniors in the Arctic region. We have partnerships with 3 organizations if you're interested in international security, climate change, working with indigenous populations, or economic development. That information is on our website, and the deadline to apply is February 15th. Finally, we offer a summer research fellowship, which is open to all graduate and advanced undergraduate students interested in human rights in South Korea. You do not need to speak Korean to apply, and that deadline is March 16th. A strong applicant for us would need to convey in his or her proposal that they have done their homework and they know something about our partner organizations. You need to have a strong idea of what your internship or research focus is and how it connects to our partner organizations. And finally, we want to know how this experience will help you with your future academic or career goals. And a strong letter of recommendation is also helpful.
Hello, my name is Audrey Buswell, and I'm with the Center for South Asian Studies in the International Institute, which is just a couple of floors up. And the fellowship program that I am representing today is called the Summer in South Asia Fellowship Program. And it's a little bit different than I think some of the programs we're talking about here today. It's thanks to a generous donation to the center, the center is able to fund up to 8 students to travel to India to complete independent research projects that they have created and organized themselves. And this oftentimes means that you find an internship. You know, it's a stabilizing thing that you can do in India. You find an internship and then do your own research on the side. So maybe you're really interested in working with women's rights organizations and you're interested in doing that in India. So you can reach out to an NGO, establish an internship with them, and then do your own research in whatever you're interested in on the side during your free time. And that works just fine. So the program is designed to be incredibly, flexible and independent. We can't stress that enough, the independence of this program. And by that I mean, you go out there, find your own internship, find a way to get to India, of course with the funding that we give you, and set up your whole summer. And we're requiring you to be there for at least 4 weeks. Most of our students end up being there for up to 8 weeks, but 4 weeks is the requirement. You're not required to stay any longer than that. But it's entirely your thing. You're able to go there, do what you want to do, accomplish what you want to accomplish. Many students oftentimes do preliminary research for an honors thesis or something along those lines as well, or just something that they're personally interested in. This is a merit-based fellowship, so you don't have to have any need to be able to apply for this. Just a little side note. But you do have to be a non-graduating undergraduate student to apply for this program. We accept all students from all disciplines. You don't have to be a part of LS&A. In fact, we have a lot of nursing students who go and work in hospitals for the summer, things like that. And a successful application is really just, as was mentioned previously, just one that's thought out. Something you submit a proposal and you show that you've done your research. You show that you've thought about how I'm going to get there, who I'm going to stay with, or things like that. We want to see that you're mature enough to make these things happen for yourself, and that's really our #1 priority. I'm trying to keep this really brief, but there is a two-stage application process. It's really straightforward. You submit a personal statement, a research proposal, you put together a budget. It sort of outlines it for you, so you can, you're awarded $3,000 if you're given this scholarship. So you sort of have to show how you're going to use that money. But anyway, the second application is just to show your progress and the things that you've accomplished in the meantime, and is available on mCompass right now. In an effort to keep this moving along, I'll leave it at that, but please do contact me with any information that you have. The website, I think, is up there right now, and I'm happy to stay after and answer any questions that you might have for me. Thanks.
Okay, I just wanted to take a minute. If you guys want to come through the front row, find a seat over. There's plenty of space over here. You don't have to stand. I know it gets really crowded in that back row, so if you'd like to stand. All right, go ahead. Okay, my name's Kate. I'm at the Center for Southeast Asian Studies, so anything that I have focuses on that Southeast Asia region. And there's 3 different opportunities that I want to tell you about today. The first is specific to Thailand. We have funds available through an endowment to support internship work in Thailand. As for many of the other ones, you need to secure the internship. You need to submit, as a part of your application, a budget. My flyer out there says that the limit to the award is $2,000. That's a little bit flexible. Ticket costs are going up towards Southeast Asia, so in some cases that would barely pay for your ticket. So if you submit, you have a best chance of getting all the money you want if you submit a detailed budget. And that means factoring in whatever the flight will be, checking around for the most economical flight, use the federal per diem rates. The government publishes per diem rates for most cities in the world, so find the biggest city close to where you want to be. Use that per diem rate. It's a federal rate, it's a little, it's kind of for like State Department people and diplomats, so technically you can actually live for much less than that, but it's a good place to start. You certainly wouldn't want to ask for anything more than that. And I think that, that goes for other applications that you might put together as well. You have a better chance, it's a competitive award, it's merit-based, there's no need, or we don't look at need. You have a better chance of getting it if you have some background, if you've taken a course on Thailand, or if you've studied some language. So those things would benefit you, but it doesn't hinder you to not have done that. You just need to, in that case, you would have to make up the difference by doing your own research, figuring out what you're doing while you're there in Thailand. So that's our Thai studies. We, along the lines with getting ready for that internship, we do offer funding to study Thai language here at the university. So we offer $2,000 to take 1 year, any level of Thai language course, which we offer every year here. So that's something to think about, especially if you have a couple years left here and you want to take some Thai before you go do the internship. The third program is different, I think, than many of the other ones here. It is an actual study tour to Indonesia. It's done in collaboration with several Indonesian universities and United States universities. It's fully paid. It's totally, it would boggle your mind if I told you how much it actually costs to run this trip, but it's completely free to you. It's competitive as well, merit-based. It's for the month of June. And there's a likelihood that this is our last trip this year unless we can secure more funding for it. So if you're thinking about this is something you might be interested in, do it now, because it may be your last chance. It focuses on politics and religion. So we look at the ways in which democracy is played out in both the United States and Indonesia, and we also look at religious pluralism and tolerance in the different countries and how religion and government interact in those two places. So it ends up being a really fascinating trip. Okay, I'll be here afterwards as well if there are questions.
So we've started out with grants just for undergraduates, so the graduate students in the audience, we appreciate your patience. And now we'll move to a number of centers that have grants for both undergraduates and graduate students.
Hello, my name is Kamala Johnson. I am with the Center for Human Growth and Development and our program called Minority and Health Disparities International Training Research Program. It's a long name. It's known on campus as MERT or MHERT. This is a very unique program on campus. It's a fully funded program, which means it includes airfare, accommodation, and we also give students stipend per month, and research support money, which means when you go to foreign sites, if you need to use a lab, a computer, a printout, we also will give you the money for those. And our eligibility requirements are students for the MERT program must be individuals from minority, and also it's a need-based program. So if you have financial aid, then they will be eligible for the program. We're looking for sophomore, junior undergraduate students, graduate students, also medical students. You must be a U.S. citizen or green card holder. We have various health-related research programs here. And you could be doing a nutritional project, or you could be working on a maternal and early neonatal mortality or sickle cell disease project. We have also environmental study. You could be collecting water samples in the middle of nowhere and studying health effect. The countries we're offering for the summer 2015 are Ghana, Ethiopia, Chile, Mongolia, Colombia, and Jamaica. And it's a 12 weeks summer program. Usually it starts in May, June, July, or could be a little bit early August. And I really want to emphasize our application deadline is November 7th, so it's coming up. And I have this blue brochure. It's also outside, a more detailed information you can find. And also, I would like to announce our students will be presenting their posters on November 7th. So if you would like to know more about the projects, please come, and this is also outside. You can pick up when you leave the session. And I'll be happy to answer your question after. Thank you.
I think I'm next, actually, just to say a few words about the Wallenberg Fellowships. Wallenberg was a U of M alumni who became a Swedish diplomat, and he helped save many Jews from the Holocaust during World War II, and eventually he disappeared himself. So the Wallenberg Fellowship, I'm sorry that this isn't coming up, but it's designed to, it's intended to honor his actions. And there are 4 or 5 grants for undergraduates in summer, and 1 grant for students who will be graduating. That's a year-long grant. And what I would recommend for the Wallenberg is to look at the Wallenberg's page, which this should go to, but it's not, and then see what exactly the past recipients have done in terms of their projects. That should give you some idea of what Wallenberg is looking to fund. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Kelly Packins. I work here at the International Institute with a number of fellowships and grants. Just by a quick show of hands, how many of you are undergrads in the audience? Okay, and how many are grad students? Okay, so we have opportunities for both undergrads and grads. These are our handouts with the photos across the top. It should say either undergraduate fellowships and grants or graduate fellowships and grants. Most of our opportunities are for international research. Some are for internships or perhaps the study of less commonly taught languages. I don't know if Phil could pull up our website briefly. So the complete information for any of our fellowships is probably online. And that's also where you can find contact information. If you hover over the fellowships and grants on that blue banner across the top, you'll find the undergraduate opportunities and graduate opportunities, and then you can just have a full list of which ones you might be eligible for. We do have 2 opportunities that are open to alumni as well. So if you are graduating or you have graduated, both the Fulbright program and the Luce Scholars program are available to alumni, so you can have a look at those. Those are both fall semester deadlines, I want to point out. The rest of our opportunities are winter semesters, so you can have a look at those. We have some January and February deadlines upcoming. I should say these are all merit-based awards. They are competitive. A number of them are fairly prestigious opportunities. We do have advising available, which you can find on our website. There's a link where you can schedule an appointment. As far as tips for applications, I think a number have already been mentioned. Reading the directions carefully, having a solid letter of recommendation or multiple letters, as the case may be for some awards. I'll just say that you should start early with networking and making in-country contacts. All of our awards are funding opportunities for a research project or an internship which you have already set up. So we can aid you in that a little bit and give you some direction, but it does help to start early with making those contacts and doing that networking.
So my name is Julie Burnett, and actually before I go into my center offerings, I'm gonna stay on the II for just a minute to let you know that all of us up here who are from the International Institute, that II website is probably the best one to link out to all of our stuff to if you wanna just have one place to go through. Also, we have this statement of purpose workshop coming up. There's information about it out here on the II table, but we're actually gonna do a workshop with an expert from Sweetland who's gonna present on helping to formulate a research question, appealing to the committee, explaining why you need what you need, and defining your travel. So that is going to be Wednesday, October 29th, right here in this room from 10 to 11. Also, if for some reason you can't make it that day, we do have previous versions of this on the II website in a couple of different places. There's both the former speaker's PowerPoint and a video of them doing this presentation. Please take advantage of this. Also, just so you know, I know they're not here today and we're volunteering their resources without them, but the Sweetland Writing Center will help with statement of purpose. That's something that we really recommend for all our grants, obviously, is a strong statement of purpose. If you're an undergraduate, you can make an appointment over there to see one of their peer advisors. If you're a graduate student, you can make an appointment to see one of their faculty members. So take advantage of that resource. Come to the Statement of Purpose workshop if you can. We're gonna try to schedule another one in January, but January is always a little dicey with everybody's timing and all the deadlines coming up quickly. So the October one is really the time to take advantage of it. Also, another thing to mention II-wide is that several centers are just now finding out from the U.S. Department of Education whether or not we'll have the Foreign Language and Area Studies fellowships, often known as FLAS fellowships. These fellowships will provide tuition support and a stipend to study a less commonly taught language. We have summer awards and academic year awards. Again, we don't really have the details yet. We just found out this week that who's getting awards and who's not. So more information will be coming out on that. You do need to be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident to apply for that. And if that's something you're interested in, you can find the FLAS page off of that II page again, or Bill's got it up. We also have a Facebook page that you could like, and we will start posting updates there. And there's also an email listserv you can join, where we'll post updates through that too. On to research and fellowship, or research and internship grants. My general information is that we do encourage you to, I think for most of us up here, to apply for multiple sources. So if you apply for one of my research and internship grants, I certainly hope that you've applied for the International Institute one. If you're an LSNA student, that you've applied through Elizabeth's program also. We're really looking to see students who are resourcing or leveraging their resources. We, at least in our center, have a practice of not overfunding students, but that doesn't necessarily mean, like others, that we can't give you funding if somebody else has. A lot of times you need funding from 2 or 3 places to really carry out what you're going to do, and we're happy to work with you on that. After that, some general things for all of the research and internship grants that I administer, and there's quite a few, is that all of mine have a March 15th deadline. They are merit-based, unless they specifically say it. They are for all degree programs and students in all programs. You do need to be a current or returning student, so they're not open to graduating students. If you are doing an internship, you need to identify the venue. At the time of your application, we do know that sometimes that you don't have all those details worked out, but in that case, we ask you to contact me and we'll work through that. And the applications for research grants, you can be at either preliminary or advanced stages of your research. So we do have 3 different programs that those guidelines would apply for. The first one is our summer grants for research and internships in Europe and Eurasia. That's kind of our most general one. Under this application, you fill out one application and we will decide kind of which grant works best for you, but there are 6 different grants, 7 something, there's a lot. So there's the CRIF grant, which is research, internship, and fellowship to support summer or semester-long research projects or internships in Eastern Europe or the former Soviet Union. We also have European Studies summer research grants to do the same. Those are mostly for European integration. They can also, if you're an undergrad, there is a study of abroad program offered through the University of Windsor that we work with that you can apply for. There is the Weiser Center for Emerging Democracy Summer Fellowship for semester research projects. The Kebsenel New Europe grants, if you're an undergraduate, this is a really great opportunity. If you're thinking about going to a country that is has joined the European Union since 2004 or is a candidate state, that one is for undergraduates only. And then we have 2, the Copernicus and the Kanapka endowment grants. Both are for research in Poland, so there's some specific opportunities there. And then there's a Ukrainian research grant also. So those are all one application, which is kind of nice. On top of that, we have a brand new Islamic Studies summer grant, which is just rolling out for the first time. To be honest with you, I'm not even sure if the information has hit our website yet. It's that new. But these will be summer grants for undergraduate students who want to either do domestic or international projects in the field of international studies too. So this one is kind of nice because we're kind of envisioning that if you can't travel, you want to do an internship or research project here that's related to internet or to Islamic studies, you'd be welcome to apply. We are going to give competitive priority to students who have declared the Islamic studies minor, but that shouldn't preclude you from applying. These ones are not for language study. And then the Armenian Studies program also has research or internship grants for students who are doing work related to Armenian studies. The one other thing I did forget to mention is that if you're going to a region and applying for regional funding, the work that you're doing should really be tied to that region in those countries. Not necessarily that you're going to France to study, I don't know, something that you could do in the US and not have a connection. So make sure those regional ties are there. Also, both the Center for Russian, East European, and Eurasian Studies and the Center for European Studies on their websites, we keep blogs that have internship and research job opportunities that come to us. So if you're looking for those opportunities, those are good places to look. And I can let you know more if you have questions. Thank you.
Just wanted to thank Julie for having helped organize this panel and for the International Institute for having provided this nice space.
Hi, my name is Devin. My name is Devin Keene. I'm the program manager at the African Studies Center. We have a few opportunities, and I'll just hit some highlights on things to keep in mind. We do offer funding for undergraduates and for graduate students for internships and research. If you're an undergraduate student or you're applying for an internship, you're going to want to show that you have some demonstrated interest in African studies, that it's not a one-off. You have some coursework and you've taken some courses already in the field. If you want information when you're selecting courses for the next term or want to know more about courses that are available or our faculty, feel free to make an appointment to talk with me. I'm happy to do so. We also have an index of faculty who do work in Africa on our website under resources. It'll say faculty research in Africa. So, and I have also an updated list. We're working on getting the website more up to date, but it's a good place to start if you're interested in a particular region. So I talked about demonstrating interest. It is merit-based and it is competitive. We get quite a few applications. I often get a question when people are embarking on a research project with multiple individuals, whether they should apply as a group or whether they should apply as individuals. Sometimes they don't listen to what I say, and that doesn't really bode well for them when it comes to review. So you have to submit as individual. And I suggest that you get a recommender who's going to write to your individual strengths. Because what we get sometimes is people sort of all doing individual applications, but they're all the same, and they have a recommendation letter that all says the same thing. Yeah, that doesn't, I mean, you can do that, but it's not going to make for a very strong application. So sometimes you will have people who are all doing a group project, and not everyone will get funding based on the type of time that they put into their application. So I just wanted to put that out there. Let's see. So these are funding. It does have to be in Africa. Sometimes we'll get questions. Well, people will say, well, I want to research colonial archives. I want to go to the UK, or I want to go to somewhere in Europe. And it's, of course, about Africa-related topic, but it's not in Africa, and those are not eligible. So you'd have to actually be traveling there. The people who review the applications are faculty who travel quite frequently to the region. So keep that in mind when you're doing your budgets. Some people, I think, do look at, maybe they're looking at the per diem rates, or they are padding their budget so much. And people allow for a little bit of that, but if you're saying, I need $100 a day to eat in Ghana, well, that might be true now, but people who live in those, who travel to those regions will say, well, where are they eating? And maybe they're going to like 5-star restaurants. So so again, I'm available if you want to consult on budget. You don't have to kind of make it up or feel like you're out there on your own. You can say, usually I recommend just sending me a Cal meeting request through Google, just put in the subject line, I want to talk about setting budgets or something, and I'll just accept or suggest an alternative time. It's usually the quickest way to get on my radar, and I'm usually just in my office, so that works well. Let's see what else. Oh, the other part is, the proposals do have to be research focused, not philanthropy. So while we encourage people to be involved in projects that are philanthropic, for example, if you are interested in contributing to various efforts to help the current Ebola crisis in West Africa, we strongly encourage that, and we'll be having an event about that later this month, it's October. But you wouldn't get funding for it if you're just going to build a school or donate books. I mean, all those things are good, but lots of times you will get proposals that are more, are not research-based, but are more volunteering. Yeah, I think that's about it. So undergraduates and graduates can apply. We also offer funding for conference travel. If you've been selected to present a paper at a conference, we will provide some funding. And also if you are doing an event on campus, so that's just an aside, some additional co-sponsorships you can apply also through our website. The information is there. I am also wearing a DAS hat today, the Department of Afro-American and African Studies, mostly because I used to work there. I'm getting further and further away from that. I've been now here at the II for now 7 years. This is my 7th year. But they do offer graduate funding, I know for sure. There's the African Initiative grants through DAS. And I'm less sure of what kind of opportunities are available for undergraduates. So I recommend checking their website, and also you can contact Robin Grice, Grice, she's the contact who does their funding. So yeah, that's it.
Hello, my name is Ann Takata. I work at the Center for Japanese Studies, and I manage the student funding programs at the center. We have a number of different initiatives at the center, both for undergraduate and graduate students. First, starting off for undergraduate students, funding we have for undergraduate students is primarily geared towards study abroad programs of various sorts, so not necessarily for independent research or internship projects, but for participating in study abroad programs. So we have a scholarship for study abroad. We also run a couple of Global Course Connections courses in cooperation with the Center for Global Intercultural Study. So those are opportunities available for undergraduates exclusively. For graduating seniors and graduate students, we work with the Ito Foundation for International Education Exchange in Japan, so we're the kind of the conduit to the foundation for recommending University of Michigan students to the Ito Foundation Scholarship. This is kind of an interesting scholarship. This is probably the one opportunity that we offer through the center that can have absolutely nothing to do with Japanese studies. This is a scholarship for long-term research or graduate study at a accredited university or research consortium in Japan. The topic of research can be anything, so it doesn't have to be Japanese studies. And we've had students who are doing like cancer research go to Japan and work at a Japanese lab. This is kind of a unique opportunity for you to go and study in Japan, funded on a scholarship. And the topic of study doesn't have to do anything to do with Japan. You can go to, there are programs in Japan, graduate study programs that are exclusively or nearly exclusively taught in English, so you don't need to even know the language. But this is one that's very unique scholarship opportunity that's available for graduating seniors and graduate students. Everything else we offer at the Center for Japanese Studies has to be related in some way to Japan. So we're interested in projects that critically examine or engage with one aspect or another of Japanese studies, broadly speaking. So we're not, for the rest of the programs, we're not going to fund, for example, an application to go present at a conference, a chemistry conference in Japan just because this international conference happens to be held in Tokyo, for example. So we want to see a project that is either somehow related to Japan or Japanese studies, that critically examines or engages with an aspect of Japanese studies. For most of our big fellowships, the summer fellowships and the academic year fellowships, we also ask for a language evaluation, and that has to do with the fact that if you're going to go and do research, cutting edge research in Japanese studies these days, you will need to know some Japanese language, and we want to make sure that you're prepared and have enough of a language proficiency to be able to complete the project that you propose to do. All of our funding opportunities are listed on our website, along with all the application eligibility criteria and so on and so forth. If you have any questions, I'm the person to contact. I'd be happy to talk to you about what you're interested in doing and which one of the various funding programs are appropriate for you. Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Doug Kiesel from the Rackham Fellowships Office, so I represent Rackham, as a Rackham student. There are a couple that are specifically named fellowships. One is, the deadline's already passed, and that's the DAAD, D-A-A-D, that's for study in Germany. It's a year-long fellowship where Rackham provides your tuition while you're in Germany, and then DAAD provides your stipend. The LURSI is for study in France. It's for research in France. The deadline for that is coming up, I think, next Thursday, October the 9th. And again, it is a named fellowship. It is competitive, as is the DAAD. So those are two that are named. I thought of one other, too, that I don't think I've mentioned in the past, and that is the Spring Summer Research Grants. That is a fellowship for faculty who are going to hire graduate students. And it provides funding so that the faculty can hire you, pay you to do their research. But if you have faculty that are doing international research, they want to hire you as a graduate student. This is for summer of 2015, so that is coming up sometime. I think probably the deadline's probably in February upcoming. Primarily, we have the Rackham Research Grants, and the information about the research grants are on the Rackham website. I jotted down a few things to watch out for as we receive the research grants, and they're either turned down or the faculty reviewers ask for some changes. Here's some things that they're going to notice. It's too long. 1,500 words for your proposal is about the limit. Don't make them 20 pages long. They will return them. Make sure you include the appropriate citations. If you have a citation page, make sure that those citations then are also referenced in your proposal. One of the main reasons why they're returned is that there's no clear description of how the research reflects or relates to your degree. So that is the reason why they're returned. One of the most frequent questions I get is, what is the budget justification? So if you ever applied for a Rackham Research Grant, there's a budget page, which is a template. You just fill in the amounts and a brief, like 1 or 2 word description as to what they are. Then there is a justification page. The justification page is more of a narrative. Why do you need to hire a transcript? Why do you need to hire someone to do your transcriptions? Why do you need to hire a research assistant? Why do you need to make 3 trips to this location as opposed to 1 trip or 2 trips? And so it's more of a narrative to actually define why you need a specific amount of money. And another thing too is that you need to include all sources of pending or anticipated support. So we have a limit for master's students and for pre-candidates. We will give you up to $1,500 towards your research. If you're a candidate, we'll give you up to $3,000. Let's say your research is going to cost you $35,000, which I've seen those come through, a $35,000 research project. So we're going to give you $3,000. Where is the rest going to come from? And so you need to be very specific, and you need to put down those as pending or anticipated or secured sources of funding, and that's part of the template. And also, it would be probably advisable to actually include that in your budget justification. So I think those are all the things that I have by way of why a research grant is flagged or returned or a revision is requested. Thank you.
Great. And I wanted to mention one last organization which couldn't be represented today. It's called the William Davidson Institute. William Davidson Institute funds projects that are related to what they call the base of the pyramid, so emerging economies, developing countries. These are really well-funded grants available to master's students in most disciplines. And they are having an expo today of the most recently funded projects. It'll take place from 5 to 6:30 at the Ross School. So if that sounds of interest to you at all, I would highly recommend going to that. So after we have finished the panel, everyone will stay around so that you can ask individual questions. But we can take a few questions for the panel as a whole if you'll give it a try. Any questions? Yes?
I should have a little late, but did you guys talk about the Borain scholarship yet, or no?
The Borain scholarship?
The
Borain, yeah.
Yeah, the
what were
Borain
you-
for language study.
Yeah.
Right, so that, there's actually an undergraduate Borain scholarship. Oh. So there is a Borain scholarship for undergraduates, and there is a Borain fellowship for graduate students, and they're administered in different offices. So I'm the advisor for the Borain fellowship for graduate students. If you are an undergraduate interested in the Borain scholarship, you would contact CGIS, the Center for Global and Intercultural Study. But basically it provides funding for students to study a language that is critical by the standards of the U.S. Department of Defense. You can combine, undergrads can combine study abroad with a language study, and graduates can combine research with a language study. But there's a list of preferred countries and preferred languages. And so you can have a look at that on the website and then come and talk to the appropriate advisor. But it is, like many of the other opportunities, merit-based, and it's up to you to propose your own research project or lay out how you intend to study the language. And then the extra kind of piece with Borain is that you have to relate it then to U.S. national security, very broadly defined. So it's possible, I think, to relate nearly any topic these days to U.S. national security, and if you have trouble with that, you can come and talk to me, and I've gotten very creative in how to do that. So we can work that out.
Postgraduate service requirement, right? Government service requirement.
There is a yes, post-fellowship service requirement, but that is not as bad as it sounds. It just means you have to seek a job with the U.S. federal government and basically any agency, and it's up to you to apply for those jobs. So there's not a job waiting for you, but there is preference for them to hire previous Borain grantees. So if you're competing with someone else for a U.S. government job, supposedly it will give you an edge.
And a question in the back?
Yeah, you mentioned the FLAS. What's the difference between that and the critical language scholarship or the CLS?
Basically, well, there's a couple differences, and Audrey can actually talk to you more about CLS. She came to us from there, but FLAS is administered through University of Michigan centers and programs. So those are the ones that we specialize in.
Audrey, would you like to say something?
Sure,
about critical language scholarship?
Yeah, the Critical Language Scholarship is, first of all, administered over the summer in a group setting. It's an intensive, integrated study abroad type of experience. They send you to wherever I think there are 15 languages now that they support through the CLS program. And oftentimes they'll put you in a host family situation if possible. You take a language pledge. You're only allowed to speak the target language during the 8 weeks of your summer in that program. It's fully funded from the time you leave your house to the time you come back to your house. And there's no, unlike the Borain, there's no, service requirement. There's nothing you really have to do after besides, some surveys you have to take online. But yeah, so they're very different things, and I think that I know that they've been working on trying to offer credit through the CLS program. Whether or not Michigan receives those credits is another issue, but they are trying to offer it through Bryn Mawr University. So they're very different programs. I'm happy to talk about that as well if you're interested.
If you're a graduating student, CLS is one of the very few programs
Yeah.
as a graduating student you can apply for.
And you can even graduate in the spring. So if you're graduating in December, as long as you're enrolled at an institution at the time of your application, then you're eligible to apply for the CLS program. And it's for graduate students, PhD students, undergraduates, all, community college students, all of the above.
Great. Well, we've covered a lot of territory in a very short time. So the idea of this panel was to show you, to go beyond the websites. The websites have all the critical details, but as you can see, there are people behind all of these grants, and they are more than willing to help you out by email or to meet with them. So please take advantage of all of these terrific resources at this university. Thanks very much for your attention, and now people will stay here if you have individual questions for them.